When you think of annoying mechanics in TF2, what do you think of? Random crits? Maybe air blast? Maybe even something that is so hidden to the point where a lot of people don't even know of its existence. That mechanic is random bullet spread. Something that I both personally loathe and want to be removed from the game. But why would I believe a mechanic that only really a few people complain about to be something that needs to be removed? I mean, it's barely even talked about in comparison to the previously mentioned random crits, so what gives? The unfortunate truth is that this mechanic really is hidden. Players can see random crits when they occur, both on the giving and receiving side. However, players cannot see random bullet spread. Bullet holes on surfaces can show it, but aside from that, it's invisible. You cannot expect a player to actively think about something that they can't even see, but that's just the beginning. Hit scan weapons of all types by default have a cone in which the pellets per shot can land. This cone gets wider with more distance, which is to be expected as fixed spread does the exact same thing. This is most noticeable on shotguns because the amount of pellets that can either land or miss, but single fire weapons are also affected with their own cone. This is on for casual mode servers, which is where a lot of people play TF2. And I could go on a rant about why casual mode is a mess, but that is for another day. But think about this. Most of the classes have at least one weapon that is affected by random bullet spread, some with more than others. In short, random bullet spread holds a lot of power in TF2 fights. But what exactly makes random bullet spread so bad? It is difficult to aim consistently when dealing with random bullet spread. The cone that you are dealing with is by definition random, so unless you are shoving your gun into your target, you will have no real idea of how much damage you will end up dealing, and that sucks. Remember, the further away you are, the worse the spread gets. That means that medium ranges and further are essentially a crapshoot every time you fire your gun. Scouts are heavily affected by this since both their primaries and secondaries are affected by this. But their movement does allow them to get in and out of close range without much of a problem. There are other classes that are affected by this much more. Let's turn our focus to Pyro, the class with the lowest effective range. Many classes can easily avoid the flamethrower range. This leaves the shotgun, a weapon that is practically useless in the range it's meant to be used in when random bullet spread comes into play. You would be better off using flare guns or just trying to get the enemy into your flamethrower range. A similar story can be said for Soldier. Rocket launchers can deal a lot of damage that can be dealt at many ranges, something that shotguns just cannot do, especially with random bullet spread. Starting to see why this sucks? Let me add my own experience. I began playing TF2 in 2017, and because of that, I played on casual from the very beginning. Learning to effectively play classes that primarily use hit scan with RBS is a fucking nightmare. I may be a pyro main, but it really is discouraging to not know if you're improving at a class when you're dealing pitiful amounts of damage half the time. Players are not going to know it's not entirely their fault, and may end up wanting to play projectile classes for their easy to understand mechanics in comparison to hit scan classes. TF2 at its core focuses on hit or miss weapons which value the better player in almost every situation. Having a mechanic that changes this fundamental concept begins to blur the line, which I feel is a problem. A problem that can turn away new players from exploring a class that focuses on hit scan, all because of unnecessary negative experiences that the player cannot control entirely. TF2 of course isn't the only game to have random bullet spread in it, but in other much more popular and actively competitive games, there is random bullet spread, and you can easily find people complaining about this for similar reasons to my own. This mechanic does not belong in any game. I've talked pretty negative so far, but aren't there any positives for random bullet spread? While it doesn't consider itself to be random bullet spread, there is a positive. Previously mentioned single fire weapons like pistols have a cone like shotguns, but they only come into play after the first shot in a clip. This is designed to prevent players from spamming them across the map. That's why the Ambassador got nerfed in Jungle Inferno. It just isn't fun to fight from across the map. This is the only time I can see random spread working in TF2, but even then this is a stretch. With anything, there are counter arguments, and I am going to dismantle them one by one. There are benefits to this. Using a sandwich over the shotgun is certainly the meta for heavy, but what about the man-treads compared to the shotgun for Soldier? I believe you should not be limited to certain playstyles because of a mechanic that hurts your ability to deal damage effectively. With things that negatively affect the whole category of weapons, it does change the balance. Just because a weapon is designed without random bullet spread doesn't mean it should be an all-in-one solution. It may be pretty good when everything else has random spread, but there are other weapons that are actually pretty good. The Frontier Justice and Reserve Shooter are good examples of shotguns that change how you play the classes they are for. When you say just use the panic attack, you are ignoring the problem entirely and just brushing it under the rug. That is the problem. No, there isn't a problem with straight up removing a mechanic that is already disabled in competitive environments for its obvious disadvantages. Since I don't believe random bullet spread will be removed, I'm gonna suggest a sort of middle ground. Don't get me wrong, random bullet spread should be turned off, but the spread of shotguns and such should be changed. Every shotgun should have its own spread, nothing incredibly different from stock, but unique enough to present a new strategy. At the end of the day, removing randomness from a game that is trying to be more competitive is a step in the right direction. This really shouldn't be something controversial as nobody really benefits from this being in the game. It messes with the core strategy and just isn't fun. While you can have fun with random crits, you cannot have fun with random bullet spread. Since Scream Fortress is around the corner, I might as well give my guess on this year's case color. My guess is green. That's it. Okay, bye, see.